Join me as I dive into Putin's biggest mistake in Syria and see if I can uncover the truth behind it. The Middle East has long been a hotbed of geopolitical tensions, and Syria is one of the most complex and contentious regions in the area. Putin's involvement in the conflict has been a major talking point in global politics, with many questioning Russia's motives and actions. As we explore Putin's biggest mistake in Syria, it's essential to understand the broader context of the conflict and Russia's role in it. Russian involvement in Syria was initially met with widespread international criticism, with many nations accusing Putin of propping up a brutal dictator and exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. However, Putin remained committed to his strategy, convinced that Russian intervention was necessary to combat terrorist groups and stabilize the region. As the conflict dragged on, Russia's actions became increasingly controversial, with reports of human rights abuses, civilian casualties, and even allegations of war crimes. One of the primary challenges Putin faced in Syria was navigating the treacherous landscape of rebel groups, extremist organizations, and various international stakeholders. The situation on the ground was incredibly complex, with multiple factions vying for power and influence. Putin's decision to back the Assad regime was seen as a bold move, but it also drew Russia into a quagmire of competing interests and agendas. Despite these challenges, Putin remained resolute in his commitment to the Assad regime, convinced that a stable Syria was essential for regional security. However, this blinkered approach ultimately led to Russia's biggest mistake in Syria, a mistake that would have far-reaching consequences for both Russia and the wider world. Russia's military strategy in Syria was marked by a series of bold moves, including the deployment of advanced fighter jets and cruise missiles. Putin's aim was to quickly crush the rebel opposition and secure a decisive victory for the Assad regime. However, this aggressive approach ultimately backfired, with Russia's actions sparking widespread international condemnation and escalating tensions with the West. As Russia's military campaign intensified, Putin's relationships with other major stakeholders began to fray. The U.S., in particular, was vocal in its criticism of Russia's actions, accusing Putin of violating international law and perpetuating human rights abuses. The resulting diplomatic standoff between Russia and the West was marked by a series of tense summits and acrimonious exchanges. Despite these setbacks, Putin remained committed to his strategy, convinced that Russia's interests in Syria outweighed the costs and risks. However, this unwavering commitment ultimately led to a pivotal moment that would come to define Putin's biggest mistake in Syria, a moment that would have far-reaching consequences for Russia's international reputation and global standing. In September 2018, a Russian reconnaissance plane was shot down by Syrian anti-aircraft missiles, resulting in the deaths of all 15 crew members on board. The incident sparked a major diplomatic crisis, with Russia accusing Israel of responsibility for the attack and threatening retaliatory action. The crisis was eventually diffused, but the damage had already been done. Putin's reputation as a shrewd and cunning strategist had been tarnished, and Russia's international reputation had taken a significant hit. In conclusion, Putin's biggest mistake in Syria was his failure to adapt to changing circumstances and his unwavering commitment to a flawed strategy. This rigidity ultimately led to a series of costly blunders, including the disastrous downing of the Russian reconnaissance plane. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts on Putin's actions in Syria in the comments below. If you want to learn more about Russia's involvement in the Middle East, be sure to check out our video on Putin's gamble in Libya. The link is in the description box below.